everyone, so today I'm going to try the Sisley foundation and the Tom Ford Architecture side by side because these are two of the most recommended foundations to me this year by so many people. I've already tested this one many times. I've got a full review on my channel. Sisley I've never tested on my channel, but I have been trying it out over the last week. So you can see side by side how these pretty much full coverage matte foundations stand up alongside each other. And I've got two of the YSL Couture Mini Clutch eyeshadow palettes to show you. I'm going to try one on each eye. And lastly, I've got the Lancome highlighter, the Teint Idole one. I did a recent review where I tried the bronzer, so today I'm going to try the bronzer and the highlight together so we can see how they work well together or not. And if you're new here, hi, my name's Hannah. I'm 47, not a professional, just somebody who really loves makeup and beauty. I upload at least twice a week here on my channel, and I'd love it so much if you liked and subscribed. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for returning to my channel. And if you comment below, I would love to chat with you, and it's just super helpful to me on my channel here when you do comment. And my skin type, I've got fair to light skin with neutral undertones, leaning a tiny bit cool. I've got combination skin with a slightly oily T-zone. Anyway, that's enough about me. Let's get on with this video. So this isn't specifically a foundation review, so I'm not going to go into any great details about either of these foundations. I'm just going to try them on so you can see, because I know some people have said to me they can't decide which of the two because they're pretty expensive foundations. The Sisley one is $75 and the Tom Ford I think is $120. So they really are very expensive. But Sisley, one of my subscribers, Two Left Feet, kindly told me about a place that's selling this at a really reduced price. So I picked this up for £57.82. So I've put the link for the website that is selling it at that price for you below, if that's useful to you. It's a company in France, so it took a little bit longer to get to me. Well worth it because the price difference was huge. So anyway, I'm going to try both of these on with a sponge. I've tested these out several times in several ways, and I found that a sponge application for both of these works better for me. And I've prepared my skin with my normal skincare routine, which is my vitamin C serum, my moisturiser and my SPF. I'm not going to put anything else on my face at all because I find that this works absolutely fine without anything else. In fact, it slightly disturbs things and makes things cakey when I do, so I prefer to have no primer with both of these ones. So with the Sisley foundation, I've got this in shade 0N, which is called Dawn. And I'm going to put one pump of this into the palm of my hand. That is all it is for one pump, and you can see it's quite a thick foundation, hardly moving, which is another reason why sponge application for this works really well, because when it's thick they really do apply better with sponges, I find, whereas when it's really runny, that's when I'd need to switch to the brush. So I'm going to tap this into the back of my hand. I've got my beauty blender here, and I'm going to just really warm this up in the back of my hand and spread it out and then start applying. So let's look at the redness and how my skin is looking, and then we can see how it looks after I've applied this. One thing to bear in mind is I'm wearing tan at the moment, so this shade is pretty much my winter shade. When foundations cost this much, I'm not prepared to buy a summer and a winter shade. So I just need to add a little bit extra bronzer if I want to warm my face up, which is fine and it works perfectly for me. Now what I found with this foundation is if I put more than that one pump on, it takes a long time for me to work it into my skin, and it does seem to look a little bit cakey around here. But can you see how when I just apply this one pump only, how smoothly it's gone on and how quickly it's gone on. So this for me is the best way to apply it. A very thin layer. I've just put half a pump in the back of my hand so I can just show you whether or not I can build it up a little bit, but I do prefer not to go too much with this, especially in the nose area, so I won't be going back over the nose area because that's where I'm going to get problems. It is worth noting that I've restarted my tretinoin skincare routine. I'm with Dermatica and I took a few months off my tretinoin and I'm back on it, so I do need to be extra careful in these areas where I do seem to get more issues when I'm on tretinoin. So a light layer on the nose, and I think that's gone on really nicely, and you can see how that second layer in my non-trouble zones has gone on very well. So it's buildable, it applies very easily, definitely for me works better with a sponge. So there is my one side of the face with Sisley. So here is the Tom Ford Architecture Soft Matte, and I've got this in the shade Porcelain, which is number 0.5. You can see this one is a bit more runny than the Sisley, but it still does work with a sponge. It's not so runny that the sponge absorbs it all and it doesn't work. So I'm patting this into the palm of my hand as I did with the Sisley, and then start applying here. You see all the redness in this nose area particularly. Immediately you notice the scent of the Tom Ford, which I didn't pick up on so much with the Sisley. It smells lovely actually, but if you don't like scents then you might not like that. And as I did with the Sisley, I put another half pump on my hands, and I'm going to go into the areas where I want to build up the coverage more and stay away from that nose area. I can go in when the sponge has got less product on, just to sort of finish it off. So there is the Tom Ford side. So coming up a little bit closer, this is Sisley and this is Tom Ford. So the coverage I'd say is the same for both. They're both buildable. They're both, doing it this way, super lightweight, and they both dry down. And yesterday when I checked this, I don't know if it's too soon to try this, but I didn't get any transfer on the tissue. No, there's Tom Ford side, and then Sisley side, nothing. So they both dry down extremely quickly with no transfer. So they're very, very similar in some of the really good points. One thing I'd say with Sisley is I do think it needs to be worked in a little bit more. It's a bit more effort, but I'm talking maybe less than a minute more. So really nothing much. But Tom Ford, it just seems to do it, almost do itself. It's very magic, I think. There's something very special about the Tom Ford. But there is something very special about the Sisley. So it's a really hard one. I do slightly prefer Tom Ford, I can tell you that now, the way it wears, and I do have a video to show you that, which I'll show you at the end of this video, but this is how it's looking now, and at the moment they both look really, really good. If I look into my trouble zone, in my magnification mirror, no issues of caking at all. It is just really smooth. So they have both blurred, they have both given me a lovely finish. Is there a side that you prefer? Maybe worth looking at the end as well to see how it's all sitting, and my end of day check-in, which I filmed yesterday. So I've applied concealer and set my T-zone, and now I'm using this Lancome Light 02 bronzer. I've done a full review of this here on my channel, so I'm not going to go into all the information, but this shade for me is a perfect contour shade, so I'm just going to contour all my contour areas first. And I'm going to go in with the 109 brush, which picks up quite a bit more, and use it as my contour here, where it'll be a bit deeper than when I go in with a fluffy brush to bronze all over the face. You see that gives me quite a deep contour and a perfect shade match for my skin tone. I love how this is quite a cool bronzer. Finally we have one. And I'm taking it around the edges of the forehead using the same brush, and under the chin here. One thing I'm noticing with this is every time I open it without fail, there's quite a collection of powder over the top. So now I've picked a lot of that out by using it as a contour. So that's definitely the way to start with this, in my opinion, because you pick up all that loose product which seems to develop every time I close the top. So it's worth remembering that, because if you just swept in with a brush the next day, you pick up a lot more product than you're expecting. So even now I've picked it up, I'm still going to be a little bit tentative in the way I tap my fluffy brush. This is my Snake Hourglass brush, and now I'm going to just bronze all the areas of the face that need bronzing. And once all those bits have gone, so it's not, you can see now it's clear, there's no bits, but when I started, I should have showed you really, there were bits all over the place, but now they've gone, I can be a bit more liberal in the way I swirl my brush about. So for my blush, I'm going to go in with the Fenty in Fresh Peach. I am just hooked on these right now. I'm not going to take too much because it's quite a glowy blush, and I want to test the highlighter. So now onto this highlighter, which I haven't tried at all yet, so this will be my very first impression of it. So as with the bronzer, it comes in exactly the same packaging, which is absolutely gorgeous. It's quite lightweight, it's not a heavy chunky packaging, but I just think it looks so luxe. I really do like it. And then here we have it inside. So I have the shade Light Glow, which is 01, and this was £44, but I picked it up for £35.20 at Debenhams. So check out Debenhams because they might still have that offer. I think I've linked the code for Debenhams below for you, so it's worth picking it up when there's that much of a reduction. So this is a serum infused highlighter, which says it will deliver a radiant multi-dimensional glow. It's enriched with a blend of a vitamin C derivative, a vitamin E, moringa oil and pomegranate peel extract for a formula that fuses with your skin. It's combined with micro light catching pearls, ensuring a radiant 24-hour buildable wear. And as with the bronzer, this is a collaboration with Lisa Eldridge, which is very exciting for me. So I'm going to use my Sonia G Fan Pro, and I'm going to take a little bit to start. And then take this here. It's nice to introduce a bit of sparkle because the bronzer is so matte, and obviously I've got the matte foundation, so I've got a bit of a sparkly cheek thanks to Fenty. Oh, that is nice. Now I'm introducing a bit more sparkle here. In fact, quite a lot. That packs quite a shine, doesn't it? But it's an elegant sort of shine. It's not that sort of, whoa, that's too much. Not for me anyway. Now it is going to emphasize texture, but I am underneath beaming studio light, so this is the worst it's going to look from the point of view of texture, because people are not going to be looking at your skin underneath studio light unless you work in that environment. So try the other side. That is lovely. And this is just the perfect inner corner underbrow highlight as well, so it can be used for that. So you could use the bronzer in the crease of the eye and this across the lid. So they could be your eye look as well as your cheek look for an easy summer fresh sort of look. I've built that up now, probably a bit too much, but that's the third time I've gone in, so it's definitely buildable because it's really come up there. But I do really love how it's just sort of blending and fusing in, which must be the skincare as described, because I'm not having to do much there, and I'm not just getting, because this is a very thin fan, I'm not just getting one line when I do that. It just seems to distribute itself almost without me trying, and blending through. That is a very, very nice formula. I really, really like that. Definitely in contention for one of my favourite highlighters I've tried so far this year, I think. Oh, I really like that. That's enough. I'm going to stop there so I'm not glowing too much. So here is that highlight closer up slightly. Now keep in mind my cheek is a bit extra glowy because I've got the gold sparkles coming through here from the Fenty blush. And then I've got the more white highlight above here. You can definitely see the difference, the gold and then the white highlight. I really love that, really do. That's a yes from me again. I've really enjoyed both of these actually. This bronzer is my perfect shade and this highlight is my perfect highlighter, so couldn't be more happy with both of these. So if you like a matte bronze and if you like this shade of highlight, there are two other shades you can try. So if you're deeper skin toned, you can definitely check both of those two out. For my skin tone, I think this one is perfect. That's the lightest one. So I've just gone on to do my lips using the new MAC Teddy Forever, which is a collection I am absolutely in love with. So I used the Locked Kiss Ink first on my lips, and that's in the shade Bonded with Teddy. And then lined my lips with Deeply Teddy, and then went in with the lip gloss, which is called Teddy's Pal. This is a combination I absolutely love. So before I show you these eyeshadows, I'm going to show you the video of me swatching these in the natural sunlight. So here's that video for you. are two other eyeshadow palettes in this collection. One is the 710, which is called Over Dore. Now I didn't go for that because I already have these two here, and I think with these two combined I don't need Over Dore. So this one is number 100 Stora Dolls, and this one is number 300 the Casper Spices. And I think if you have either of these in your collection, you probably won't need number 710 Over Dore. I think the shades are pretty much covered here. And the other one was 700 Over Noir, and I didn't go for that one just because it's a little bit dark and I just didn't really fancy it, in all honesty. I've gone for the two that I most want to use, so I don't think I'd get as much out of the dark one. I don't like to use really dark eyeshadows if I can help it. I like to keep them quite warm and more browns, oranges, corals. So that's why the two I bought look right up my street. So I love the look of the orange here in the number 810, which is this one, and this one 800. So the 810 is Over Orange, and this 800 is Over Dore. I think that's how it be pronounced. So I'm not going to do lots of comparisons with this one, apart from this gold shade, because seeing as the golden palette from Natasha Denona just launched, I thought I would do a quick swatch for you of the gold compared with the gold in Natasha Denona's palette, which is the one called Oro, which came in the original gold palette, and it's also in the new one. So there you can see the difference between the two there. And this one here is Aurum. YSL is probably closer to Aurum than it is to Oro. But if you have that golden palette, you have every single shade pretty much in this palette, because it has the deep brown, it has the lighter browns, and it has the light shimmers. So you really wouldn't need it. You'd be able to do an exact match pretty much. But these ones are infused with lots of different skincare, which is what makes them so soft, but not so much that they don't stay on, that they don't work well, that they go oily on the eyes or anything like that, but they are extremely soft. So they are different, they're buttery soft, and apparently they've been reformulated, I've heard, but I can't actually pick up on any changes swatching them between the ones that were released last year compared with this one. So if you're looking to get them purely on the basis of reformulation, I don't think it would be worth it. So I would just go if you think there's a new colour or a story that speaks to you, and this one obviously is quite new. So they don't have one with this sort of orangey coral or this sort of gold in the collection. So these are quite different, which is why I thought they were the best choices. I am going to do a couple of comparisons with recent palettes. So this is the shimmer and the coral in the new YSL that I'm showing you today. And I'm just going to show you some palettes that have similar shades. So starting with the new Warm Essentials from Dior. So the two shades that are similar in the Dior Warm Essentials are these two, so I'll swatch those. Here is the Dior. You can see straight away it's a little more subtle, which is what you'd expect. Dior is always subtle, so you're getting more pigment and more shine with the YSL. And then we had the new Bobbi Brown Supergirl eyeshadow trio. This was in the Emma Rosenthal collection, the super beautiful packaging. So I'm going to swatch these two. So you can see that the shimmery shade in the Bobbi Brown is a lot more of a goldy shade, and the orange is deeper. It's definitely more of an orange than a coral, the one that came from Bobbi Brown. So it's as pigmented as the YSL, but it's a slightly different shade. And then we had the new MAC Teddy Takeover palette. This is the face palette. So I'm going to look here at these two shades. And the big change here is that the coral in the MAC is a shimmer, not a matte. So there's the shimmer shade, and there is the coral, which is gorgeous, but very different to the YSL, because obviously it's a matte, and just very different shades really. And the last one I'm going to show you came from Galan last autumn. Now this was called Ombre G Undressed Brown 910. So I'm going to swatch these two here. There's no point swatching either of the browns, they are much deeper. So there they are side by side, so you can see that the browns in the Galan are completely different. The Guerlain has a very similar creamy formula though to YSL. In fact, so similar, I'd say they're pretty much the same. So here is the orange there in the Guerlain, which is a shimmery orange, not a matte, almost a metallic. And there's the shimmer. But these are all pretty similar, so if you have any of these in your collection, then you might not need to get this YSL. So it's worth looking at those first before buying. So I'm going to start with number 800, Over Dore, and I'm going to go into this lightest one here using my T4 brush from Sonia G. And I'm going to take this into the crease. So into my crease, into my outer V, and I'll be taking it underneath here as well. Just to give me a nice setup base before I build. I'm taking the same brush, I'm going to go into the deepest brown here. I'm going to put this in the outer V only. So just tapping into this, it's not coming off too strong, it's not really pigmented, so it's quite easy to work with, so you could build this one up. And take the T1 brush to take the same colour, just the first half underneath the eye. And now taking the T2 brush, I'm going to go into this gold. So the T2 is a flat brush. I'm going to take this over the first third of the lid. The first 2/3, not the first third. I'm going to take a bit of this on the finger just to see if this gives it a bit more of an oomph, which I think it does. So you can have a slightly more subtle effect with the brush and definitely get a bit more impact with the finger. And then I'm going to run this underneath. And using my BK Beauty 207, I'm going to go into this lightest one here. And I'm going to start by putting a pop in the inner corner. Really sparkly, this one. And then take this up to the first third of the eye so it meets that gold. This would make a nice topper shade. If you did the brown all over the lid, for instance, and then put this across, that would be really pretty. I wouldn't top the gold with this because I don't think you'd see it. But this over the brown would be a lovely look. So that's another look you could get completely different by skipping the gold. I'm going to try spraying with setting spray my eyeliner brush. I'm going into this brown to see if I can get a bit more depth out of it to use as a bit of a liner. By spraying the setting spray on, you're almost creating a cream liner, so a bit like the eyeliner pencils. And take it up for a bit of a wing, so it's definitely working. You can see that's giving me what I wanted. So it's the same shade you can see here in my outer V. It looks completely different when it's wet and with a dense finish brush. And then I'll just take a tiny dab of the light brown matte and just run this under the eye. Let's just soften everything a little. I think this shimmer I've used here for the inner corner is a bit too much for under the brow. So seeing as I thought the highlighter from Lancome would work, I'm going to try that. So this is with my 207 brush. And yes, that is perfect for under the brow. God, I really do love this highlighter, you know. So that's my finished eye look using the Over Dore, and I think it's very functional. You can use it for everything, as you've seen, apart from maybe under the brow. And you could definitely try this different ways, like I said, with the brown and then using this as your topper. You could use the gold as a just one and done shade if you wanted that one instant glam. You could just use the browns as that sort of everyday look. So pretty multifunctional. You can get quite a lot out of this. So you can go from night to day with it. You could definitely, that's something I love the idea of doing, where you just put the browns on and very little on the lid, and then in the evening, if you've got it in your handbag, take the little sponge that comes with it and stick the gold over, and then you've gone from day to night in a flash. And I think the eyeliner worked very well by wetting the brush, so I don't need to reach for an eyeliner either. So excellent, that's exactly what I look for in an eyeshadow palette. So now I'm going to try 810 Over Orange, which is the one I was most looking forward to when I saw this release, and now I've got it here with me. This shade is so perfect, I can't wait to try it. So I'm going to try something a bit different here. I'm going to start with a coral and my T4 brush, and I'm actually going to start using this in the crease area. And I'm going to take this across the whole lid, but I want to start the colour at the end so that it becomes lighter as I reach the inner part of the eye. And I'm going to take this underneath. Trying to do the same so it's slightly lighter there and deeper here. And now taking a fluffy brush, I'm going to take some of this lighter one and I'll run this around the edges. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this brown, the T4, and just start to deepen up slightly here, but I don't want to take away from the orange too much, the coral, so I want to keep it. So unlike this palette, which was so metallic-y, so far these all come across very matte. Even though there's a slight shimmer in the orange, everything I've used, as you can see, has zero sparkle really. You can pick up a tiny bit in the orange, but it's so minimal. So now I'm going to take this sparkle and I'm going to use this as a topper across the whole of the lid. And you should see this more in the inner corner where I let the orange be so much lighter. So I'm hoping to get a bit of a sparkly eye with an ombre effect. Then take the 207 to put the same topper shade into the inner corner. So once again I've wet the eyeliner brush and I'm going to try, this is not very deep, so I'm going to see what happens if I try it in here and see if I can get a bit of a liner using this brown. And that definitely worked as a liner, so I've managed to use both as a liner using that method, so I'm quite pleased with that, and it's quite easy to do. But I do think that the shimmer again is a little bit too much for the under the brow. So once again I'm going to go in with the highlighter from Lancôme and put that underneath the brow. But this really is my favourite type of shade of highlight and impact. Level of impact to use under the brow, I think it's perfect. So that's my final look using everything. So here's my eyes now with mascara on, and they are beautiful. I really do like them. These formulas are so buttery and so easy. They blend so well, they're so comfortable. They can fall off a little bit towards the end of the day. That's one thing I would say, is because they are so buttery, they do tend to wear off, but not straight away. They'll give you maybe a good 6 hours of looking exactly the same, as long as you're not rubbing your eyes. So again, it is just beautiful. This and Guerlain are so similar in the way they have that buttery soft formula, and they are very, very user friendly. You don't need to do hardly any work with the blending. So I really do like these. I don't know if I have a favourite. So there's the gold look. I prefer the brown as the eyeliner for this one, definitely. I love the coral. I think that's a lovely topper. I would like to experiment again by using the brown, the lightest shade as my crease, and then the brown more in depth in the outer V, and maybe just a little bit of the coral with the topper. I don't know. Different ways of using this one again. But this is the way I wanted to test it out today, because I just wanted to see if it was a good topper, and it definitely is. It transformed that coral, didn't it? But it doesn't look as impactful, so I might like to have half the eye with just the coral and then half with the topper. So I can definitely play around with that. I think as a liner the brown worked reasonably well, but it's more of a reddish brown, so I personally would rather have this sort of shade, so I'd probably end up dipping into another palette to get that brown, or using an eyeliner, pencil, whichever's easier or nearest to me. But other than that, I do really like them. I don't think I prefer this to the MAC Teddy Forever eyeshadow look, which I thought was so stunning this year. I love that. I don't prefer it, so at the moment if I had to choose one or the other, it would definitely be that MAC one. And I don't prefer it to Dior. It is more impactful, it really is, but I loved the Dior one, I really did. I think it's a very special palette, the Warm Essentials, and there's just more options. So I would go for the Dior if you're on the fence about all of these. But it's personal choice, it really is, and the packaging with YSL is just exceptional. It really is stunning. Obviously the Dior packaging with Warm Essentials is very basic, so you get this lovely quilted faux leather, which is really nice. So, and you also get the mirror. There's a good mirror. Again, the Dior doesn't have that, but the MAC one did, and the MAC one also has a highlighter underneath. So if you have none of those, lots of decisions to be made really, but this is a lovely summer vibe, both of these. This will be a lovely Christmas look, but this is particularly summer orange. I think it's not that sort of deep orange that's more autumnal. So this is a lovely summer look, and I think I might mix the two together actually. I think that would be quite a fun look, having the coral with the gold. So I'm looking forward to trying that one, definitely. And as for the bronze and highlight, you already know I love the bronze, and I think you can see that I love this highlight. I really do. I think it is gorgeous. I'm thinking that the Fenty and this bronze and this highlight might be my top three at the moment. I really do. Really love the Fenty and really love the Lancome. So the last thing to look at is the foundation. So now it's had a good hour to settle down. This is the Sisley side. And then this is the Tom Ford side. And they are still just looking absolutely perfect. There's no settling into the lines here at all. There's no caking anywhere. They both sit beautifully. It's really hard to choose, but I would go for Tom Ford just because I think it gives a slightly more perfected look, but it's a fine line. We're talking a couple of % difference in my opinion. I'll just show you a very quick clip from yesterday where I did my evening check-in so you can see how both of these were looking after a long day. So this is an 11-hour check-in, so a pretty long test for both of these. And this is the Sisley side and this is the Tom Ford. So keep in mind now that I have just reintroduced tretinoin, so I am expecting a little bit of dryness and problems in my problem areas, such as here and here, the T-zone basically. And I'm going to make some allowances for that. And also it's been 11 hours. So on the Sisley side, there's a little bit sort of moved here. You can see the sort of red under my cheeks. Whereas on the Tom Ford side, I think it still looks perfect. So Tom Ford's winning definitely that side. And when it comes to caking, there's a tiny little bit on the Tom Ford side there, just in the nose area. I'm not sure if this will pick up on camera. And on the Sisley side, there's more. It's not terrible. You do need to come up fairly close to see it, and it's been 11 hours and I've had several meals, and I've also had an allergic reaction today, so I've been really at my face with my hands because my eyes have been itching. So you can see that there is some caking around the chin here. It's moved off there. It's quite bad caking in this area here. This could be my fault. Maybe I didn't quite remove all of my eyebrow products before I apply foundation, which sometimes does happen. So I'm not really going to take too much notice of that. I know that that's Sisley because when I tried to do half each both sides, I definitely used Sisley all in that area because it's a bit difficult to split that. So I definitely think the Tom Ford is really doing brilliantly actually. Very, very pleased with the way it's looking. But Sisley, very pleased, but not as pleased. So they're both really good. I think they've both stood up really well, but Tom Ford is a definite winner for me. What do you think? So as you can see from that clip, again, it was the Tom Ford that stood out as the better one. It definitely had better longevity and less caking. So I think it's the winner, but there is quite a big price gap between the two. So I don't think you'll be disappointed if you go for the Sisley either. I think they are definitely up there with probably the top 2 foundations launched this year so far. They really are fabulous. Although I have to say I am really loving the Fenty foundation as well, but that's a very different foundation. That's a glowy foundation. But these both being matte, they're both perfecting and they are both beautiful. I really do like them. These are definitely good options for that perfect evening look when you really want to look your best. So anyway, that's all from me for today. I have really enjoyed doing this and I would love to hear from you. Which of these have you enjoyed? Which would you like to pick up, or have you already picked up? What do you think of the Lancome Bronze and Highlight Together? What do you think of these? Which one is screaming at you to buy or not, as the case may be? I think these are things that you're definitely going to find in your collection, so it's whether or not you're tempted by the newness, really. They are beautiful. I've enjoyed everything I've tried on, but I would love to hear in the comment section below what you're thinking. And that's about it. I would love to see all of you for my next video, and if you're not already subscribed, I would love it so much if you did, and if you already are, thank you so very much. I do appreciate all of you so much, and I hope to see all of you again for my next video. Take care, everybody. Bye.